new that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, beautiful, sexy people. I hope you're having a very good week and struggling your way through it in the best possible way that you can. Some will be very happy, some might be a little sad, some might be a little confused, and some probably couldn't give two hoots about the sort of things that we're going to talk about tonight. If you're one of them, then this might be the ideal time to turn off or pick another one to watch. But tonight, we're going to have another talk about One Nation. We're going to have a talk about the National Party. And there are some other interesting things that are coming to light, including other parties which appear to be coming to life. There is one in particular called Stand Up Now Australia, which is launched. I don't know if it's launched today, but it is certainly come into my sphere today. Why is that? Because I think they can all sniff a reasonable chance at change in 2 years' time at the next election. Well, what a night to sit in the chair and nod off. When I woke up, I had a bit of a look at Sky News, and this was the look on my face. That's sort of how I felt. Yeah, what? David Littleproud and his crew today have all quit the shadow cabinet and essentially destroyed, beg your pardon, hide that one, essentially destroyed the coalition. No more Liberal National Party, if you like. Not that there was ever much of a party to it, and I think that the Libs are always the senior partner, and certainly that's how they seem to have felt for a long time, given the spit and vitriol that they've launched today against David Littleproud and his crowd of nationals. So why all the bitterness, angst, and hatred? Well, it's because one side of the coalition woke up to the fact that it's meant to be working for the people, and the other side of that coalition didn't wake up to that fact and decided to work with the communist government to instill laws that very few, I'm not going to say none, but very few of the Australian people want anything to do with. It has become extremely apparent to all and sundry that the Labor government are such useless, weak individuals, liars of the highest order. And I believe in great part what happened on the 14th of December at Bondi was done so that many of the asleep normies can finally wake up. By the way, I won't be pausing at 7 o'clock this evening. Just letting you know. I know it's probably past 7 o'clock where you are. If you paused and lit a candle, good on you. Great. I hope you feel wonderful. You'll make all the Jewish people near you feel wonderful. If I light a candle here, I'll probably set the bus on fire. But I've mourned those people. I've done all the mourning I'm going to do for them. And I am certainly not taking any responsibility for what happened, unlike, well, neither is Albanese, I guess, because as we pointed out the other day during question time, he pointed out that he was sorry that he was Prime Minister when this happened. And that's pretty much word for word what he said. I'm sorry. I've said I'm sorry that I was Prime Minister when this happened. That's what he's sorry about. He's not sorry that it happened. So we discovered initially that three national shadow ministers in the Senate were not going to play the Liberal game. They backed out. Then, of course, it demanded conventions, party conventions, coalition conventions, demanded the resignation of those 3 senators as shadow ministers, which they were already drawing up at 9 o'clock or whatever the next morning. Now, they were offers to resign. They weren't resignations. They were offers to resign. That's very clear. They didn't resign. They made an offer to resign, which was accepted by that strange woman who leads the Liberal Party and looks like she works for White Lady Funerals. She knew the consequences of accepting those resignations and losing 3 Nationals off that shadow front bench. And while I may not have ever had anything to say about David Littleproud, good, bad, or indifferent, I don't remember him, as I barely remember his name. He's always been very much the second party in the friendship there, and was always going to do what the Liberal Party told him to do. Well, he sprouted a few hairs upon that testicular fortitude that we never thought he had. And he stepped up. Now, it looked like he shed a few tears doing it, and it would have been a huge decision to pull the other members of the shadow ministry and effectively disengage from the coalition. Now, in the big scheme of things, to you and I and out here in the public world, it doesn't really mean much. In the insular world of politics and Canberra, it is a huge story, a huge, huge rift. But to me, that's not the story. The story is the opportunity this now presents. And who does it present that opportunity to? Well, I don't think we have to go looking too far, and we will find Pauline standing at the front of it all. Now, One Nation are acting at the moment in a way that should give people who are new to their policies some confidence. I think today was a fairly quiet day all round because, like all good political parties, they have to pay their respects to the Jews who were having a sad day today. And they expected the rest of the nation to come to a grinding halt. If you did, congratulations. That's all great. I have no problem with anybody who wanted to do all that. It's just not for me. I mean, I wouldn't stop for 5 minutes to remember somebody who died close to me a year, a month, a day on. I mean, once we're buried them, we move on. It's pretty much how I feel about most things in that area of life, or death, as the case might be. Having said that, I have been very fortunate in that while I have lost people close to me, I guess I've not ever lost anyone that's made me debilitatingly grief-stricken, because I don't view death that way, I guess. I know some people find it very difficult, and I'm not taking anything away from those people. We should be celebrating the death of the Liberal National Agreement. For so long, it has just been another control measure placed on the people. I don't know how much different this will be now that they've split, because they've done this before. They're all likely to be back in bed again in a month, but probably not before the lady from White Lady Funerals loses her job as the head of the Liberal Party, and we get somebody like Andrew Hastie, who I think is going to have significant problems of his own should he be elected to that position in the Liberal Party. There are a lot of questions about his involvement in what went on, the bastardization, if you like, of Ben Roberts-Smith. I'm not going to go into it in tonight's show, but trust me, folks, Andrew Hastie and his mate McCallum, the journalist, had an awful lot to do with the civil cases and the jealousy cases, I'm going to call them, that were leveled against Ben Roberts-Smith, and for certain actions carried out in Afghanistan. Some of you might think that Ben Roberts-Smith is responsible for all sorts of atrocities, kicking a fella off a cliff and shooting a fella in a field, and all sorts, drinking from a leg. Well, he did drink from the leg. But there are huge amounts of untruths going around about the stories around Ben Roberts-Smith. There is some sort of bullshit thing going on Facebook at the moment, stop him from or get his court orders rescinded, all that sort of shit. He's not lost any case. Everything he's had against him has been a civil case where they can very much organise what judge gets to see what and hear what and do what. And Ben was screwed. Now, Ben was screwed out of jealousy, in great part jealousy. I think he might have brought a little bit of it upon himself with certain attitudes, but he certainly didn't bring upon himself what has happened to him. And he does not deserve that in any way, shape or form. And I just want to point out that Andrew Hastie is very much responsible for that. Not the kind of honourable fella you would think comes out of Australia's SAS. And don't think that he was, like Ben, a patrol corporal or anything like that. No. Hastie was a troop commander. That meant he didn't really get on the ground and do much. He sat in a base and ordered people around. Bear that in mind. I'm not saying he never did anything on the ground, but he certainly wasn't in the action like Ben Roberts-Smith was. So be very careful about Andrew Hastie as he comes into frame in the next day or two, because he will. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty confident if there isn't already today, there will be by tomorrow morning calls for Susan Ley to step aside, or that there is going to be a spill in the Liberal leadership. So if she were to lose that position, that doesn't mean she loses her seat, of course, and she probably won't have to return to White Lady funerals anytime soon. Malcolm Roberts has given notice to the Senate that he plans to make a motion on the 4th of February. That motion will be for the Competition and Consumer Industry Codes Cash Acceptance and Regulation Act. That was put into action, I think, toward the end of last year. Malcolm is going in to try and fight for our rights for cash again. I somehow doubt that he's going to get too far. But all that could change, because right now, folks, the Liberal Party is dead. Pauline Hanson and One Nation in one poll, admittedly, and one poll does not make a winning election, but it is the first poll in history that has a minor party leading above one of the big two. And I believe that gap is only going to get wider as she strips more points away from the Liberal Party and more points off the ALP. Because seriously, how could you seriously consider that bunch of Muppets? I mean, I'll say one thing for them. They do know how to play politics really well. And they seem to have got the leash on the Liberals and the Nationals really tightly. And the people are now awake up to that. When we call it a union party before, most of those unawakened looked at us like we were, get your tin hat on and away you go. But now they can see that for what it is. I really do believe a lot of the things that we are seeing are to awaken more people. The actors are working to a script and they are playing their roles very, very well. It'll remain to be seen just how well as we go forward. And Monday might just be a test for that. Our Australia Day celebrations around the country, March for Australia, which I'm going to call it in every state because it's too difficult. You've all gone and fragmented yourselves for whatever friggin' reason. And, I'll be honest, the March for Australia event that's happening in Sydney looks for all the money like a people's event. The march that's happening in Brisbane, while being a people's event, is in 100% totally organised by political parties. And I suspect One Nation in great part are behind that. I also suspect if they've got half a brain, they will be using it to promote their movie, which will be released. The cinema showing will happen Monday night, Australia Day night, at the Cineplex in Brisbane. And that is going to be a pretty interesting movie. You will be able to download it. You pay a subscription. I think it's $12.99 to download the movie, available from the 30th of January to watch in your own home. And there will be only, I think it's one night in the cinemas. It's various cinemas around the country over the course of next week. So Monday, I think there are 2 screenings in Brisbane. There are tickets still available to the second screening, which kicks off at 7:15. And it will be a movie well worth having a look at, I think. I've only seen the one trailer for it, but that trailer is a gift that just keeps on giving. So that movie will be released to the public the 30th. And what's it called? The Big Progressive Movie or something like that. I think it's going to be very funny. And I just wonder if they've had to re-edit it in any way because of the hate speech laws that they've now had to vote against. Wouldn't that be, well, be the kind of thing we'd expect? Anyway, in Adelaide, well, you know, I know it'll be a march for the people because you'll all turn up, but whoever's running it, I don't know. There always seems to be a lot of division there. In Melbourne at the moment, I believe it's going to be a people's rally held at Flinders Street. So we'll wait and see what happens there. You won't have to worry about the NSN turning up. That's the National Socialist Network. Thomas Sewell has put out an announcement that the NSN is now broken up. It is no longer, nor are any of the other groups that the NSN were associated with or had set up. That's, you know, the White Australia groups and all that sort of stuff. They've all been brought down in time or before these laws could be passed that would certainly have targeted them. That's why these laws were put in place. Because the NSN, who have never done a terrorist thing, as far as I'm aware, in their existence, were put into the same basket as the terrorist organisation Hizb ut-Tahrir. Well, the government didn't like the way that Thomas Sewell was able to energise people. They didn't like the way that Thomas Sewell was able to articulate the problems that he and his followers had with the government. And they are certainly not willing to countenance any kind of communication with people like the NSN who don't swallow bullshit easily. So they outlawed them, leaving Thomas and crew no other choice but to disband and maybe meet up occasionally in groups of 1 or 2 for a beer at the pub. Because if you get caught associating, who knows what the Victorian coppers will do with the federal police now laying in wait behind them. So, no need to worry about NSN turning up anywhere, and I don't think many of you would. As we've always stated, you don't have to listen, and I'm not just singling out NSN here. There are going to be politicians speaking at the Brisbane event that you just may not want to hear from. It doesn't mean that you hate them and that you're going to threaten their lives or that you're going to, do some other stupid bloody thing. All you do is say, oh, no, I'm not listening to that person. Turn around, walk off, sit under the tree, go and have a smoke, go and have a drink, go and dangle your feet in the Brisbane River for 5 minutes. If people are saying things you don't agree with them. You don't have to stand there and yell abuse about it. Just turn your back. It's a much more powerful signal. A much more powerful signal. If you all turn your back on the speaker that you don't agree with, and there are many of you in that crowd that don't agree with what's being said, then I can tell you from standing on many stages that that is an extremely intimidating thing to do. You don't have to say a word. Now, you will get those presenters, and I could say the one that was presenting at Brisbane a little while back would be one of the ones I would name in this, who've got hides as thick as rhinoceros and don't care whether you're looking at them. They find it easier to lie to your back anyway. So that wouldn't worry those sorts of people, but it does worry good people. And I believe in Brisbane there are all sorts of good people who are going to be standing up to speak, along with all sorts of politicians. I'm not saying the politicians are bad. Just saying it's not really a people's event. I know that there is a lot of money, political money, that has been ploughed into the Brisbane event. And, well, I'll leave it up to you to decide whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, I'll leave that up to you to decide. Right. In Sydney, they have decided that the march will be allowed to go ahead. The Sydney protest ban has been modified. It hasn't been lifted. The police came out in Sydney yesterday, I think it was, and said, no, we're still having these restrictions about marches in the city. However, we're going to modify them so that these ones can go ahead for the March for Australia. They sounded very magnanimous in allowing this march to go ahead. The fact of the matter is it's Australia Day, and if the police thought for 1 second they were going to stop Aussies going out and celebrating their day, they've got less brains than even I give them credit for. So it's clear they've got a few more brains up there than we thought. So they've taken the high ground and said, yes, we'll let you have your parade. We'll let you have your march. Bullshit. It was going to happen anyway. So as long as the coppers feel happy and in control, I guess that's all that matters. Here's something I picked up the other day, which I found a little bit interesting. Australia has tested its, well, it says its first direct energy weapon, but I do not know that it is the first. We have been at the forefront of direct energy weapon technology now for some years. We were involved, and this I think is the same system that was referred to in that headline. We were involved working with something with the Brits for a number of years, very useful for taking down things like drones. Now, these are a laser weapon that can identify a drone at pretty good ranges. The drones that I'm talking about, and this is old technology, they were able to shoot down stuff at sort of 5 kilometers. This new technology, it brings stuff down a lot closer. It has a much more powerful laser attached to it. And they were testing it at Puckapunyal. If you know where Puckapunyal is in Victoria, there are a number of ranges at Puckapunyal facing all sorts of different directions. One of these direct energy weapons is operated from a drone. The day that the tests happened, and I'm not suggesting there's any correlation between them, but the day that the tests happened just happened to be the day that large parts of Victoria started burning. Just saying. It was an interesting test day, though. I'm sure that's what they'll tell you. Now, I'm sure you, like me, have been wondering what Donald Trump said, did, or wrangled to all of a sudden change his tune on Greenland. 1 minute, we're expecting a force of 50,000 Marines to parachute onto the ice and take the island by force. And next thing we know, he gets on his aging 747, which broke down on the way to Switzerland. That made him late. There could be a reason for a new presidential 747 jet, even if it is the one that the Qatari king gave him. Be guaranteed he'd get to where he's going then, I suppose. But anyway, Trump did wind up getting to Zurich and then hopped a helicopter to Davos and stood in front of the elites of Davos, where he apparently made them feel a whole heap better about themselves. He said, I'm not going to invade Greenland. I don't have to. I've already gone off and figured out a deal where it's going to be safe for us forever. And I'm going to fix the rest of the world. So I think I've figured out how he's going to do that. He just disguises himself, slips into the local area, starts working on the locals. Can you imagine him as an Eskimo in Greenland? Just saying. Well, are there Eskimos in Greenland? I'm not sure. There might be more in Canada. Or Inuit. Not Eskimos, Inuit. I beg your pardon. One thing that I should have mentioned to you before, I'll go back to that in a minute. I want to finish on Davos for a minute. I've been watching a bit of it. It's beyond, I can't watch more than about maybe 10 minutes every 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours. It is disgusting. The speeches, the smugness, the attitude, the lording over we, the little people, and all so that they, the rich, can become richer, is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And then the filth really turns up, which is the likes of Emmanuel Macron from France. Now, he and Donald Trump supposedly get along. I don't know. But Macron turned up today or yesterday in Davos looking 100% extremely dapper and like a man who's been beaten up by his wife. He's wearing these aviator sunglasses during his speech. He did not come out of those aviator sunglasses at all on his day one at Davos. He was meeting people backstage in them. He was greeting them in off areas and then goes out to the world and looks for all the money like a despot dictator there in his reflective bloody aviator glasses. What a pathetic piece of shit he really is. I thought it quite funny. There is a Donald Trump parody account on Facebook called Il Donaldo Trumpero or something like that. And they posted up something that I thought was very, very funny. I'm just going to see if did I take a screenshot of it? I don't think I did. That's a bit of a bugger. They posted something up that was just spectacular. A reply to Macron from Il Donaldo Trumpero. And that was along the lines of, why are you wearing those stupid glasses? Why does your wife have a penis? And has she beaten you up? Sort of speaks for itself, I think, don't you? Sort of very much how I feel. So when I see things like that at Davos, I haven't watched anything from Avi to see, who he's been annoying. I did see he and Ezra get Justin Trudeau yesterday, as he and what's that satanic cow that he's dating at the moment? Katy Perry, who looked for all the money like a demon walking down the street. I don't know if that's because the press weren't paying any attention to her and it was all on her boyfriend, or just the simple fact that she doesn't like being seen in daylight like most vampires. However, be that as it may, Avi and crew are over in Davos trying to ask some of the hard questions, and we're grateful that somebody there at least is trying to do it, because it's been pretty obvious for a long time that there ain't nobody asking too many of the hard questions. Also, something else I wanted to show you is happening very soon. The lovely Sandy from our donkey sanctuary, the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary, are having the king of all garage sales. This is not happening at the Donkey Sanctuary. Now, it is happening from Friday tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Now, I can tell you that I have seen a great deal of no, I haven't. I've seen a small portion, but it was all good gear. There is a lot of stuff in this garage sale. All the details are there. 606 Glen William Road, Glen William. It's 6 kilometres out of Clarencetown. If you don't know where any of that is, folks, think of the Newcastle, Port Macquarie, that sort of area, and inland, maybe as far as Singleton or further. There is plenty of stuff, plenty of really good, cheap stuff at the garage sale. Now, this is going to not only help the Donkey Sanctuary, but it will also help Sandy's mum and dad, who have quite a lot of the stuff, I think, that's out there, is belonging to them as well. So if you would like to get along, it is a beautiful drive, an absolutely lovely drive. And if you're looking for a special deal, then why not jump in the car, go for a cruise, 7 to 5 Friday, Saturday, 7 to 4 on Sunday, and 7 to 2 on Australia Day. With a bit of luck, you will be able to pick up some camping gear or some fishing gear, photography. There's white goods. There's so much stuff there. Jewelry. You got any silver that you've floating around with there, Sandy? I reckon you might have picked the eyes out of that by now, eh? Most people would be. Stay away from your Nana's silver set, all right? Don't do that. Speaking of silver, if you've been watching it today, you may have had a small conniption thinking, oh, my God, it's fallen, it's destroying. Oh, God, I've lost so much money. Well, I don't know that that is a fair indication of what's actually gone on today. But I will agree there has been a very, very significant drop in the prices today. And in fact, if I show you this map instead, yep, click and make sure you're seeing that. Yeah, righto. So what you can see there is the dramaticness of the day. If we go back to that big red candle, that big red line that you see there, that was the drop at open this morning. The opening price was around 93 US dollars, and it dropped about $3.50, nearly $4 down to around $90 US. And it stayed down there for a very little while. But then, as you can see, not only did it build back all the losses of the morning, but right now it's trading at 94.2 US dollars and climbing again. Gold's doing pretty good things too. Gold is, just bring up the Ainslie site again. Gold is at $7,102 an ounce. That's gone, well, we only broke through 7,000 yesterday morning. I think it did go up as high as 7,200 at one stage. But, yeah, $7,103 per ounce of gold at the moment and $138.35. You could have bought your silver today in that little dip for $133. But if you're going to Ainslie, like you would be at any other bullion dealer, they will show you the spot price, but that may not necessarily be the price you are paying. That is because the actual price of an ounce of silver is much closer to that 94. Well, it's much closer to over $100 US an ounce than it is to the $94 it's currently showing. New markets are opening up. Mumbai today has been the dragon market, if you like. They've been taking a lot of that silver this afternoon, and there is a lot more still on offer to come out. China, the Middle East, and now it looks like the subcontinent are working very hard. Isn't it funny that all those nations who are now opening up and buying large amounts of silver and certain amounts of gold are BRICS nations? You shouldn't be surprised about that. They are going to put the pressure on, and it is highly possible to see the end of the market as we know it. I'm not going to say it's going to be the end of the market, just as we know it. Certainly, I think it'll be the end of arbitrage trading for precious metals. And the military in America have come out and made it very clear that they will be stockpiling precious metals required for their production requirements. So their defense production requirements for silver are anything electronic, and particularly their missiles. And because they're so itching to get into a war at the moment, they don't really mind with who. When I say they, I don't think that's America. I think it's the rest of the world are itching to get into war at the moment. And America will either be sending them missiles in crates, or they'll be sending them with a fire coming out of the bum at them, aimed at them. So there's going to be a bit of money made because, let's face it, the Western industrial military complex can only make money if there's war. And at the moment, they need money. They are going broke. Yeah, Fern, Trump's speech at Davos, I'll be interested to see if he really comes out and kicks them. My understanding is that he's basically told them that you don't have to worry about Greenland. I've already sorted out the deal, and I'm not coming after you. And you don't have to worry about the 200% tariffs. See, he's using the tariffs as a whip to try and gain some form of acceptance of things that the European nations do not want to accept. Things like pay your share of NATO. They don't accept that they should have to do that. They think America should pay that. And then now they want to fight America. So how would all those NATO nations go fighting the nation that provides the vast majority of funds and certainly a large amount of the weapons to NATO? Once again, folks, I keep saying to you, this is a movie. When you really try and think about it logically, people say it doesn't make sense. And then they just say, oh, well, it makes no sense, and walk away from it. No, explore that thought. It makes no sense. It's nonsensical. There are some completely stupid, moronic things happening in the news at the moment, politically, socially, culturally, that none of us of a certain age living in this country ever thought we would see. And yet here we are, being led to it so easily. And I find it disgusting that the Liberal Party in this nation have been so useless as an opposition that they have now essentially destroyed themselves. I saw a meme put up yesterday, I think, by Turning Point, and then I lost it, so I've recreated it today. I just want you to have a look at this. Sadly, that's exactly what the Liberal Party is. It is the lesser partner in the uniparty. And the Labor Party at the moment, they've got their paw on their head, just screwing it down a little bit tighter. So where does that leave us? Does that leave us with the potential of the Liberal Party being decimated at the next election to a point of being pointless? Do we think that one nation could get people into the metropolitan seats that the Liberals hold and could retain or could gain those seats off the Liberals? I think there's a pretty fair chance of that if one nation and associated other groups that jump on that bandwagon are genuine, are honest, and can gain the trust of the Australian people. But I would add to that by gaining the trust of the Australian people, you're on notice. You'll only get one go to prove that you are doing as much as possible, as fast as possible, to rectify the abuses that have been put upon the Australian people for the last 50 plus years. It's longer than that, but let's go back to 1973 and start from there, or even 1966 and start from there. I think that would make Donna and Peter from Corruption Whistleblower a bit happier. I don't know. I think there is a great opportunity for One Nation at the moment. One Nation have proved themselves to be the leading opportunity for this nation for an alternative, for change. Now, as much as that may stick in the craw of some of those other minor parties, I'm talking about Katter, I'm talking about Clive Palmer, although I'm not even sure Babbitt is a Palmer United or a United Australia party member anymore. I think he sits as an independent too, maybe. At any rate, he plans on getting out at the end of his Senate session anyway. He thinks politics is a truly horrible game, and he refuses to play it. But he's keeping an eye on it, I guess, for the term. Good on him. He'll go back to being an accountant. I think he was before he got into politics. But I must say, he is a man of great conviction doing that, if that is the case, and he would be a loss. I would like to see him put some support behind Pauline and One Nation going forward. I would like to see Bob Katter get right behind this push. I would like to see Gerard Rennick get right behind this push, even though Rennick is going to be, I think, probably a divisive character coming up to the next election. He will want to start his own party, the People First Party, which he's already started, but he will want to run that. He won't want to run with One Nation. He won't want to run as anything else. So really all he's effectively going to do is steal Liberal votes from One Nation, essentially, going forward. And will he get in? He couldn't raise enough votes in the last Senate election to get re-elected. That was a pretty tight Senate race, given that he was also facing Malcolm Roberts and Pauline Hanson. And there are only so many seats to go around. So hard race. Before supporting Rennick in any way like that, I would want to find out whether or not he's planning on sitting in the lower house or the upper house. What's he planning on doing? Is he planning on running just a few people for the Senate in the hope of gaining a balance of power kind of thing, in which case just taking votes away from One Nation and any good they could possibly do if it came down to a balance of power vote? I think it's possible that One Nation could be flooded with votes and get past the post on first votes. But then there would be the preference game, the shell game that's played, and they'll just keep playing it until they get the result that they want. We need to make that result impossible to be able to tip by playing those little machination games in the back rooms. And I hope we can do that before the next election. I really hope we can do that before the next election. If we can't, I hope that it proves to those people who believe that voting is the only way, that it's not, that it's never going to work. We keep coming back to it. I know there are many good people who go to that place in Canberra aiming to make major changes for the betterment of people in their constituency and all Australians in general. Malcolm Roberts says so every time he stands up. But they're unable to do so for a variety of reasons. But the vast majority of those reasons are linked to the bureaucracy. And that is where the poison is in this chalice. So I would like One Nation to come up with a plan that guts our public service. We might be able to save a lot of money doing that. And figures out a way, and I'm sure we can do this together, whereby the public service is replaced by people who actually do want to do the right thing by the people of Australia, using the money the people of Australia ordain to give them to do it. Many of the people in Australia refuse to pay taxes because, like Kerry Packer said, you don't do any good with the money we give you now. Why would we give you more? Well, that's very true. And when you look into the laws surrounding taxation, they open up some interesting questions as well. It is a time of waking up, folks. And some of it, I am incredulous at the stupidity, at the audacity, at the sheer weirdness of what we are being confronted with almost on a daily basis. Today has been the exception because everybody's hiding inside, feeling sorry for the Jewish community in a parliamentary or political sense. They're all too scared. And Susan, the funeral woman, must be really happy that this has happened today. I mean, I know she's at, memorial services or remembrances services right now, but she's been able to hide all day from the media and use this day of Jewish mourning as an excuse not to come out and talk to the Australian people about the shit fight that she has created and how she's going to protect her leadership in what must surely be a spill coming real soon. It's terribly sad to see the way that this is going. Terribly sad. But I'm a bit excited for the future. This could be real change for Australia. This could be the best thing that's ever happened to us. What would happen if the Liberals, I beg your pardon, what would happen if the Nationals and One Nation joined together? Would the Nationals feel quite as happy about playing second fiddle to One Nation like they did to the Liberals? I think that would be a very interesting question, because it is clear the people have swung their support behind One Nation at the moment. The Nationals, while being associated with the Liberal Party, have lost ground dramatically. Although, interestingly, not as much ground as the Labor Party has lost to One Nation. But the mainstream media aren't telling you about that. They're more prepared to say, oh, well, the biggest One Nation are ahead of the Liberals. Well, next week the story will be they might be ahead of Labor Party as well. And if they can build on that wave of support going forward without shoving one foot or both in their collective mouths, awesome. What will we see? I think we will see a terrified Labor and Liberal consortium come together with the Greens to outlaw One Nation as a hate party. They will do that when the figures are consistently coming in that One Nation's numbers are growing, and they will try and do it over the course of, they won't do it in the next 12 months. It'll be maybe after 18 months or so. And then just before the election, they will deem them a unsuitable group, and you won't be able to vote for them. No more One Nation. Wouldn't surprise me to see them do that. Now, if they were to do that, what would you do? If you'd decided that you were going to vote for One Nation and the powers that be, Labor Party, get together in the back room with their green and teal friends and their newly enamored Liberal Party mates and do this deal, what would you do? Is that the kind of thing that Australians say, well, let them do it. That'll be all right. She'll be right, mate. Well, she won't be right, mate. Australia is being stolen from us, we the people. It is being corrupted by Fabian Society members of the highest order whose only goal in life is to slowly subvert our nation and turn it into a communist enclave. A communist paradise where they will have everything and we will have nothing and eat the bugs and be happy. Certainly hope that you are doing your best you can to show others the way. And I'm not suggesting that maybe that One Nation is necessarily the way. We do have plenty of evidence to say that One Nation have been corrupted by Zion as well. But Vince and quite a few others say, oh, you've got to give them a go. You've got to try and vote your way out of this. All right, well, I'm happy to give it one more go. Not happy to, but I will. And throw all my support behind One Nation to try and get them over the line. But I'll be honest, it's more because I'm interested to see what the party machine is going to do to One Nation. And yes, I would champion them if they are being beaten up. I don't think they need me to champion them in any way, shape or form. But yep, I don't like seeing the little bloke or woman beat up in this case. I don't see the little party. I don't like to see the little party being kicked around. Never did. So let's see how it goes for the time being. And let's hope that in a couple of years' time, when the election swings around, that there is a wave of support that is far too big for the uni party to overcome in preferences, and One Nation is swept to victory as part of a coalition involving the Nationals, the Katter Party, Clive's lot if they're still around, and an independent cooperative, because there will be independents who are elected in this election coming, a lot of them, I think. They're all going to need to work together, broadly speaking. Things to be wary of: getting a big head. One Nation right now are copping some of the best press they've ever had in their entire existence. They are under demand from podcasters to mainstream media. Everybody except me, it seems, wants an interview, and they're riding a wave of media success. The phones are running hot, the emails are running hot with requests, and that's a pretty flattering thing to have happen, along with all the numbers that you're seeing coming through your party polling and all that sort of stuff. And that can tend to have an inflationary effect on one's head. So I would ask, if there is anyone from One Nation watching, keep an eye on that. You cannot afford to go and get a big head. Not yet. You're 2 years out. And God help you getting a big head if you were to get elected and then turn that big head on the people in a few years' time. That wouldn't go very well for you guys at all. With the best of intentions and with every prayer and hope in the world that you would do the right thing, I and many others will probably support you. But if you screw us, we the people, you will never, ever be able to make that ground back. And you will confirm to we the people that the political process in this country is completely 100% totally stuffed. Beyond redemption, beyond repair. And when the only people who think it isn't stuffed and beyond repair are the ones who are riding at the top of it, we the people won't allow that to happen. Something will happen to make that impossible. So I pray that One Nation can pull this off. They've got to keep their egos in check. They've got to keep their ears to the ground, and they're very good at doing that. They're very good at listening to the people. Are they very good at acting on the wishes of the people? In certain circumstances, I would say yes. And it's very easy for me, a keyboard warrior, to sit here and spruik myself into a microphone without having the full knowledge and the full facts surrounding the issues that must confront these people every day. However, I do believe nothing is insurmountable. Tough decisions may, in fact, need to be made. They were needed to be made very recently. And look what happened when the Liberal Party made them incorrectly. I wouldn't want to see One Nation's support plummet like the Liberal National Parties has in the last 3 days because of a mistake that could be avoided, a mistake like the woman from White Lady Funerals made by breaking up the coalition, which I think will only strengthen the National Party, and it could very well be the end of the Liberal Party. Some might suggest that too isn't a bad thing. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, folks, I love you and leave you tonight. My throat's about to go and close over again. I need a drink. And before I start coughing and spluttering and carrying on, I will wish you a lovely evening. Be safe and be happy in what you do. I will tell you that Laura has arrived safely today in her destination. That's a load off my shoulders. And I think is settling in, having dinner with her niece right now. So she's very happy, very chuffed. And thank you to all the dickhead drivers on the road for avoiding her in her 2,000-odd kilometre journey. I really appreciate it. Folks, I hope those dickheads avoid you too if you're heading out tomorrow. I am. I'm heading to the Gold Coast tomorrow. I may pop into Ainslie just to see how busy they are. I'll be down that way. And I might be able to record an interesting little story from a real studio. I'm going into a podcast studio tomorrow to do a few things. So you never know, you might see some changes in the near future. Who knows? Rest assured, the dickheads on the road will be avoiding me. You have yourself a bloody good night.
You
folks.
let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?